Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to USA Global TV's United Kitchens. I am Ricki Mckenna, and I'm a certified nutritionist, an author, a chef, and the host of your show today, the United Kitchens. So I invite you to sit back and enjoy what we're about to do. And since we've just finished with we've gone through Thanksgiving, and I'm sure everybody's up to here with turkey. So we decided to call this, Are You Tired of Turkey? Let's try some fish. So today's recipe is called Hasselback Salmon. And it includes a number of different wonderful things, but really the salmon is the focus, of course, because it's one of the best things that most people can eat. It's full of nutrition for just about anybody. And lots of minerals and vitamins and the omega-3s that we really, really do need to keep our joints working properly. Anyway, it's been kind of one of those weeks. Had a long drive up to Kansas to visit with my son and his family. And then, of course, the long drive back. And finally got settled. And here we are in the kitchen. So we're going to start with our lovely piece of salmon. The first thing I'm going to do, this is a salmon, and it's about an inch thick, and I'm telling you this for a reason. The recipe actually calls for 2 pounds. You can do this to serve for a number of different, a number of people. And you can also do it for 2 if you I cut my fish in half, so I have about 3/4 pound of the salmon. And this one is an organic sockeye, and it's about an inch thick. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is put on my gloves, because I find that working with things like raw fish, raw chicken, and raw meat, I really prefer to wear gloves, not just for the cleanliness part of it, but I'm able to really keep the food clean as well. And so I'm going to put my gloves on, and I got these wonderful gloves at, of all places, Target. I don't know if you're familiar with Target, but in their pharmacy area, they have boxes of gloves, and I decided that I would try them, and they're perfect. I have really long fingers, and they seem to work beautifully, and thin hands, so this is working well. You want a glove that fits and allows you room to move, but it really fits pretty well. So we're going to take the salmon, and I'm going to rinse it. I really like washing my food before I eat it. And this has, okay, we've got our salmon. One of the reasons I'm washing it, and I'm going to do the plates as well. There we go. Okay. We are going to bread the salmon, but very lightly on top only. And normally we would use olive oil or something like that, another oil or butter or something to help make the breadcrumbs stick. But this does not call for that. We're going to do it a little differently. And now I'll show you the reason for why I told you the width of the fish. It is about an inch thick, and the first thing you do with this is to cut through the middle of it. You can see where I'm cutting right down the middle. And if you've got a larger piece of fish, I want you to use a sharp knife, but don't cut through the skin. So you're cutting about 3/4 of the way through the fish. And now we're going to turn it the other way. And normally when you serve fish something like this, you slice it into like 1 inch, depending on the size of the fish, 1 or 2 inch slices and across this way. But what I'm going to show you today is we're going to slice it into the pieces. I'm going to make, they're about 1.5 inches wide. And I'm going to leave the little smaller piece a little bit bigger. And now I'm going to take the fish and I'm going to slice it again. And the reason we do this is so that the fish cooks evenly while it's in the oven. So I'm cutting at about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch intervals. And I'm not slicing through to the skin, just enough, because what we're going to do with our breadcrumbs and seasonings is put it right inside those wonderful little crevices. I think you can see them. I want to see if I can get this close enough for you to see what I've done. You can see there's crevices. And that's the reason for doing that, is to help the fish cook evenly, number one, and so that we can put our seasonings in there. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is take our breadcrumbs, and I have about 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs, to which I'm going to add some salt. I'm also going to add a little salt to the fish, just a little. And actually I'm using panko breadcrumbs, and I believe that panko also makes gluten-free for those of you who are gluten sensitive. And then I'm going to take my whisk, because for mixing dry ingredients, I find a whisk is excellent. And we're going to put it in here so you can see what we're doing. So I've got my 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs, approximately, because I have about 3/4 pound of fish. And so I'm going to mix that up. Then I'm going to take some Parmesan cheese and mix in about 1/4 cup. Let's see, what are we supposed to do here? No, actually, 1/4 cup. Well, approximately. So we're going to add some finely grated, not the shredded, the grated cheese. And put those in there and mix that up. You'll see you'll have quite a bit of breadcrumbs when you're done. And if you have too many, just put them in a glass jar and store them in your refrigerator so that you have seasoned breadcrumbs. It's a wonderful thing to do. So even once the Hasselback salmon is done, you'll have some leftovers. I'm going to add a little bit more of the breadcrumbs, about 1/4 cup or less. And we're going to add a little garlic powder to that, approximately 1/2 teaspoon. Or if you like lots of garlic, put a little more in. And mix that up. That's why I like the whisk. The whisk is really wonderful for getting through dry ingredients and mixing them thoroughly. And so, actually I really should put this recipe in my next book, and I'll show you the book. It's right behind me. You can see it. It's got about 30 recipes in it, but unfortunately this isn't one of them. And since I've used this recipe, I found that it's absolutely delicious and people love it. Okay, we've got our breadcrumbs just about ready. Let's see what I'm missing here. Lemon zest. So we're taking a lemon. I've got a small lemon, and I'm going to zest it. And use your zester because you want it finely zested so it mixes well with the panko breadcrumb mix. And if you think you have too much, put it in anyway. Lemon really improves the flavor of so many things. And of course, we're used to using it with fish, and it's an absolutely wonderful, wonderful fruit. It's full of good nutrition, and the zest just makes things really zingy. So we're almost there. And I have to tell you, it's very funny. For years and years and years, I used to zest with the zester upside down, pointing into the bowl. And one of my clients, for whom I cook, said to me, I watched her zest a lemon or an orange one day, and she was doing it this way so that it actually collects in the channel of the zester, which makes eminent sense. And I can see that I've got just about a tablespoon of zest, which is really perfect for this. And I'll bring it to you slowly. It just holds it right in there. Isn't that lovely? So we just put it right in there. And save the lemon later for your garnish. Okay. Excuse me. We're going to mix that lovely lemon. Oh, does that smell good? Lemon zest in there. So we've got the panko crumbs, garlic powder, and Parmesan cheese. And we're going to add a little salt and pepper to this as well. Okay, I did put a little salt in, but I think I want a little bit more. We can taste it and see how good those breadcrumbs are. See if I need a little more salt. Yep. Okay. And we'll put in some fresh pepper. Very basic. But I love the panko breadcrumbs because they get very crispy, and I'm going to put some pepper on the fish as well. And you notice I'm leaving the skin on. There's a reason for that. It holds the juice and the moisture in. Now let's mix up our breadcrumbs. Now remember I said I'm not going to use some olive oil on the fish before I put my breadcrumbs on. So we'll take our breadcrumbs and pat them into the fish. And make sure you pat them in between where you put those slices so that the breadcrumbs actually are inside the fish as well as on the outside. We're going to have plenty of breadcrumbs left over, which is just fine. Okay. Here we go. You can see I'm putting kind of a thick coating on, but I do want it to penetrate and get in between the pieces of the fish. There we go. And of course it does get on the sides as well, and that's fine. We're going to put that into a baking pan very shortly on a sheet of parchment paper. I love parchment paper because it makes cleanup so simple, and it also helps keep the juices to where you can pick them up from the pan. Now, my oven is at 425, and I'm going to take this lovely piece of fish with my breadcrumbs and put it in the pan to bake. There we go. I'm just going to take the rest of the breadcrumbs and put them right on top. Let's see. I want to center that. And as I said, my oven is at 425. Let's see if we can move this guy right in the middle. Okay. There we go. Isn't that pretty? And now we take our olive oil and we drizzle a little bit of the olive oil over the breadcrumbs and the fish. Just a little. We're going to need the olive oil to make the dressing though. Because on top of this wonderful piece of fish that we're putting in the oven now, and remember your oven's at 425, and put your rack in the middle. Make sure that your rack is in the middle of your oven. If your oven is this big, then the rack should be in the middle. Okay, take the breadcrumbs, move them over, and our next goodie, actually what I'm going to do is take the breadcrumbs and put them in a little bowl, and I'll put them in a glass jar later to put them away, and just use that same bowl, and we're going to mix our dressing. Okay, time for a drink. This is my cup. It says, take whisks. And you can get that if you come to my website, which is rickiskitchen.net. And on there you'll find both the book and the cup is available. It's RICKISKITCHEN, and it's .net. So you can find the cup, you can find the book, and you'll find an apron that also says take whisks, which is, I think, in the wash at the moment. It washes beautifully. You don't even need to iron it. Wash and dry it, and it's great. The book, of course, is You Can Eat Well and Eat Right. Let me just give you a little preview of that. Ta-da! And yes, you can enjoy the joys of cooking and recapture them. If you're kind of not quite sure you can get back to cooking, it's really easy. And the reason I wrote that was because I enjoy cooking. This is my meditation room, so to speak. And so I would love to have other people join me in the kitchen and find the joys of cooking. Okay, we are going to take, it's about a cup of parsley, fresh parsley. You can use dried parsley. I have used dried parsley in this chimichurri sauce before. And the thing is, if I use a cup of parsley, or you can use cilantro as well. Take your choice. It's a different flavor and, of course, a little bit different consistency. But just a cup of the fresh, either parsley or cilantro, and we're going to put it into my little blender, little food processor, which is waiting patiently over here. And let's see if we can get that in there. It's a lot of parsley for this little guy, but it'll cook down, or it'll blend down. Love the smell of parsley. Fresh parsley is yummy. And it's also good for your digestive system as well as your taste buds. So I've got my parsley, leaves, and stems, because we're going to make this into a not quite chunky sauce, but it will be, it depends on your taste, if you want to make it a little smoother or you want to keep it chunky. So I've got that in my little Cuisinart. I'm going to just give that a whirl. Okay, now we got a little bit less volume to work with, so it's just as simple. Let me get it where you can see it there. And to that, we're going to add a couple of cloves of garlic, and you can add more if you like. It's to taste as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to add, let me see if I have another little one in there. Oop. Okay, and just chop it roughly because it's going into the blender anyway. And of course you keep your jar of glass jar garlic with a plastic top on there so that it doesn't spread the aroma of garlic all throughout your refrigerator, unless you want that. But we prefer the refrigerator to have no odors if possible. Okay, except clean. Okay, so I've got my garlic. Let's put that in the blender. I'm going to see if I can spread it around a little bit so that it blends fairly evenly. There we go. So we've got parsley and garlic. We're going to add a little salt. Maybe 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I don't like to over salt things. I know it's good for cooking and it makes things work well, but I don't want to overdo it. And let's see, some white wine vinegar and some olive oil. And let's see, we're using a 1/4 cup of white vinegar and a little less than 1/3 cup of olive oil. Okay, so we can measure that. Now, if you're making more than what I'm doing today, more than 1/2 pound, you can double this recipe. Actually, the recipe is actually doubled, but what I'm going to do is I've cut it in half. So, here I am. And let's put our olive oil in. You want a little more olive oil, of course, more than the vinegar. So I'm going to use a full 1/4 cup. There we go. Can never hurt, and you can always adjust it, but this is a sauce, so you want it to be liquid enough to work beautifully on your fish, which we will finish in a minute. Let's see, and then what else do we have in there? Yum, 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 yum. Okay, salt and ground pepper. We'll put the pepper in a minute. Take all the goodies that are on the side and push them down into the mix. What I found was when I've done this before and I've used dried parsley, that it's a little bit easier. Of course, the regular fresh parsley does a little more. You need to push it down a little bit more because it gets all over the place, but it's wonderful. And I'm also going to add a little bit of oregano. About 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. And we have to take our little top off here. I love the sprinkle tops, but when you want them off, it's hard to get them off sometimes. Okay, about 1/2 teaspoon or so of oregano. And we'll put that back together. I'm going to check on the fish shortly. As I said, the fish can cook for 20 to 30 minutes. And what I found with the 1/2 pound, it cooks in about 25 minutes, cooks well. So we'll give this a little more, one more turnaround. Wait a minute. Mix in the oregano. Sometimes it mixes better on a lower speed, but this one we're going to have to, there we go. Ah, beautiful. We have a sauce. It smells wonderful. The combination of the parsley and the oregano and, of course, garlic and oil and vinegar, it's like a vinaigrette, and it's called actually a chimichurri vinaigrette. Chimichurri, I'm not sure of the origin of it, but I believe it's South American, and it's a spicy group. take that and have it ready to put on the fish when it comes out. Here we go. So, in the meantime, I'm going to taste it and see how well we did at making it really wonderful. And I'm not inviting anybody else except my spouse to join me and eat this, so I'm going to use the fork again. Ooh, that's good. It is a little bit vinegary. Now, you can have two choices here. I'm going to add a little more Parmesan cheese because we didn't put any in the first time, but I'm going to add some to it now to help cut the vinegar because I don't want to over oil it. So I'm going to take some Parmesan and put it in there. And I have a key lime from my tree outside, which I'm going to slice and squeeze in a little bit of the lime juice. So this is going to change the flavor a little bit, but it's also going to help with cutting the vinegar. Just a little. These are only little tiny guys anyway. And washing hands usually helps, or washing gloves as it were. Okay, let's mix this up. Wait a minute. And we'll get it to where it's the taste that we want to go on top of the salmon. Woo-hoo. Okay. Actually, the addition of the Parmesan cheese not only helps it thicken a little bit, which I needed it to do, but it also added some more flavor that will blend beautifully with the breadcrumbs that we put on the fish. Okay, I think we're ready. Let's give that a taste. Where's my trusty fork? It's very limey. Okay. Actually, I'm going to add a little more. You know what? This is something I normally would not do, but the combination of the flavors, the vinegar is really prominent. I used a bit too much, which sometimes we do. So instead of throwing it out and starting over, one of the things you can do to cut the sharpness of the vinegar is to add a little tiny, I repeat, little tiny bit of honey. And so I'm not going to measure, I'm just going to drizzle carefully. And it's maybe a half a teaspoon, which actually is a lot of honey. And honey is a wonderful help for not only sweetening, and it won't really make this sweeter, but it will just cut the sharpness of the vinegar. So I'm going to mix that in. Just a minute, and let's see how we did. That's just a hint that you can use for when you have a sauce that's a little too vinegary. Add a little bit of honey. I'm a believer in low sugar in things, so I don't use a lot of it. But as I say, it will help if you over vinegar something, and sometimes we do. Much better. Okay, you really can't taste the honey, but what it does is, as I say, it ameliorates that bitter sharpness from the vinegar. So I always have a jar of local honey close by when I'm doing something like this. When I'm making my vinaigrette dressings, which I normally do, I happen to love vinaigrette dressings. And usually for my salads, I find that if I use oil, vinegar, sometimes lemon, garlic powder, or granulated garlic, which I prefer, it's a little heavier, and has a better flavor, or fresh pressed garlic, salt and pepper, and some herbs, whatever my favorite herbs are. I like herbes de Provence, which is a combination of thyme and rosemary and a whole bunch of other things. And we have about, let me check the fish. We're browning nicely. And I think we're just about 5 minutes from coming out of the oven. So I'm going to cap my little Parmesan cheese, have my salt and pepper ready, and clean up a little bit and explain why I like to clean up while I'm going through things. It's a lot easier to clean up as you're going, if you can, than waiting to clean up the whole thing afterwards. And I'm going to put my chimichurri sauce into a bowl for serving, because you can drizzle this, which I will, on top of the fish before serving, or if you have company, or at least it's you and someone else, you can take it and have it in a little dish and have them put the sauce on themselves. And what I would serve this with normally would be green beans or some green vegetable. Green beans are one of my favorites. Spinach is a good one. Fresh spinach, just lightly sauteed. You could also use Swiss chard. Swiss chard makes a wonderful vegetable. People forget about Swiss chard. And I find it's one of the best for cooking, as well as for serving and using in a lot of different dishes. And I make a soup with Swiss chard, as a matter of fact. Not sure if we did this one on air before, but it's Swiss chard, leeks, basil, and zucchini. And zucchini is another vegetable that works beautifully with salmon. Actually, almost any vegetable you like. So we're going to wait just another couple of seconds here. I think we have about 2 minutes left for the fish. And I am going to take it out early because I don't like my fish overcooked. And so I'm going to remove it and bring it here and show you how we'll garnish it. Let's see, I've got my lemon ready. I'm going to take a towel because I'm going to put my baking dish directly on my wood and I don't want it to burn. So we'll take the sauce. You can see it's kind of chunky, which is perfectly fine. As I say, you can blend it a little bit more if you like to make it smoother. But I'm going to get every piece of this wonderful, delicious parsley that I can out of here and put it ready to put on my fish. There we go. It's really good. Okay. All right, little fishy, out you come. Beautiful. To determine whether your fish is ready, you can either use your judgment, time it, of course, that's one way. But another way is also to notice when the breadcrumbs have browned. And since they've started to brown, excuse me, but this is really hot. And I want to show you what this looks like so you can determine when yours is done. You see how the edges are browned? The breadcrumbs around the edges are brown. And as I say, you don't want to overcook your fish. So here we have it. And let's take that out. I'll take my handy spatula. And actually the parchment paper is touchable. I'm going to try to get underneath it because I do want the skin because it keeps all the moisture in. There we go. Beautiful. There we have it. And I'm going to take the breadcrumbs and just toss them right on top. And then take my pan out of the way. Okay, now we're safe. And we have that beautiful piece of fish on a plate, and we're going to go ahead and garnish it. I'm going to take a tablespoon, mix it up a little bit, and what you want to do is just drizzle or dribble, however you want to put it, on top of the fish. You can cover the whole thing, but I wouldn't. It's kind of pretty when you just drizzle it on. And it does get into all those little wonderful crevices that we made. So here we go. And I'm going to put the lemon on the plate before it's served. And if I were serving it, if I had my other vegetables ready, of course, we would do that. You can garnish it with more of the fresh parsley and serve it just as it is. And of course, we did slice it. So I'm going to see, let's just see how well done it is, because I think it's fine. I'm trying to find the spot where I cut it earlier. Okay, we'll just cut. Oh, that's perfect. As you can see, it cuts beautifully. And inside, it's baked to almost flaky. You don't want it any more flaky than that, because then you can overdo it and it'll be fine and juicy. And I'm going to taste it just to make sure. I have to admit, that is really good. And the whole point of this is, whether you use a sockeye or another kind of fresh salmon, please don't overcook it. It will cook, it will continue to cook, because the skin is on it a little bit when you remove it from the oven. And so you want to let it sit for just a minute and then cut it into your slices for serving, if you like. Keeping the skin on, this time you cut through the skin. Now, people can eat the skin because, frankly, it does get a little bit crispy on the pan when it's baked. So you can either do that or take it off the skin, but I prefer serving it with the skin because it does hold the heat. And so that's why I took it out, and it was actually about 20 minutes. So, and your oven will be a little bit different, perhaps, but that's perfect as far as I'm concerned. And sometimes you'll have somebody who wants it well done. Let it sit a little bit more and it will well do itself. So there we have Hasselback salmon with chimichurri sauce. And it's a wonderful alternative, or if you're finally finished with turkey, this is great. And actually, it makes a wonderful cold salad if you complete it and you have some leftover. It's great for making salmon salad. Just add a little bit of whatever else you like in a salad. I would use scallions and maybe some lemon juice and just mix it up lightly. You can use a little mayo. Excuse me, and make yourself a salmon salad from this. It's absolutely outstandingly delicious. You can also use the chimichurri sauce in place of mayo. It's a little different consistency, but then it's a different salad. So with that, I'm going to turn my oven off. And again, I invite you to come to my website. It's rickiskitchen.net. And look for the book, Yes, You Can Eat Well and Eat Right, and look for the cup and the apron that says, Take Whisks in Your Kitchen. So I thank you very much, and I wish you all a very happy and healthy holiday season. Happy Hanukkah, happy, maybe Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever it is you're celebrating. May you enjoy the peace and love of your families and friends. And let's bring some more peace to the world. Thank you so much and happy holidays. And join us again next month on United Kitchens on USA Global TV. Thank you and blessings for the holidays. Bye now.